It's a new year. It's a new Class 1A. My name's James Graham. I'm joined by Dylan Beal, and we're going to be talking about all things My Hero Academia. It's just two of us this time. Andrew is getting situated with his new move, but you know the degenerate duo's got you covered. You know we got you with the hot takes, the good points,
Yes.
and we're not going to be nearly as mainstream as Andrew. We go way down in the fucking rabbit hole. Dylan, how you feeling about being back, man?
Feels good. My Hero Academia is awesome. I love it. And these are just some of the best parts of the story, so I'm happy. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I do. I feel like we're really getting to. I don't know. We're not in the build up anymore. You know what I mean? Like we're in the conclusion. We're in the climax, and I think that's sick because
Yeah.
this has been building, like especially this season, especially right.
Mm-hmm.
So for you guys who don't know, this is a My Hero Academia recap podcast. We are basically I'm gonna do a quick recap of the entire episode. It's gonna be very like bare bones. I'm assuming most people who are listening to us have already watched it. And then Dylan and I are basically going to get into deeper points of each topic that we're going to cover. So we start off this episode with a lot of backstory about Mr. Compress and kind of the League of Villains as a whole. Finding out that they were basically living on like rations and they were pillaging and kind of living like meal to meal sort of thing for about around the 6 months mark. We also find out that Mr. Compress comes from like a lineage of thieves and like very like high stakes robbers and stuff like that. Very Robin Hood esque, and we find out also that his motivation really to stay with the League of Villains is social reform. That was like the big driving factor for himself. Um, on top of that, we also find out that the way they inherited the manor is from a group called the CRC, which are basically a bunch of racists. We're gonna get into that a little later. But that's really what we see, and we get to see a really cool display of Mr. Compress's abilities and really how driven he is to sacrifice himself for Shigaraki, basically maiming and mutilating himself to ensure that he gets free of Best Genius. Really, really cool to see such a side character get a bit of attention. But we immediately switch back over to Deku, who we get another power reveal. Now, this one's not as crazy. It's not as prominent as the others. It's essentially Spidey sense. They call it Danger Sense, and it like resonates as it's a swift pain in his head, almost like like a migraine or something like that. That really indicates them that he's in trouble, sort of thing. He also makes a point of noting that it is on kind of on like it's turned up to 11. It's overwhelming, kind of what happened with Black Whip during the two classes fighting each other. The final thing is we get Shigaraki waking up. Spinner does this by basically putting the remaining hand back on his face, but it's not Shigaraki. We don't get Shigaraki at all. It is basically entirely AFO. There's no real sign of Tamura really anywhere, and All for One is really calling the shots right here. He's rallying the no moves, and he's basically saying, screw our allies, doesn't matter. I have greater plans. We're off. We're getting out of here. And the episode ends really with All for One taking a shot at Deku, basically being like, "You're useless, dog. Like, get out of here." And we get to see kind of the aftermath of what's happened to the heroes. They're in super rough shape. Cities are demolished, and it really paints this very hopeless picture. So that's kind of really what we got on this episode. There is a lot of finer things that kind of went on. Definitely watch the episode and check it out if you haven't. But Dylan, we're gonna jump right into it, dude. We're gonna get into your boy, your favorite character, Mr. Compress.
Yes. Everyone was doubting him. Everyone doubted
Every-
him, and I didn't. I didn't doubt Mr. Compress because I knew he was a cool guy that was going to have one cool moment. And he
and
did.
he did. He had a
Yeah.
super cool moment.
And he's handsome.
He's dashing. Yeah, he really is. He like super cool monologue, very interesting way of using his powers to really to I guess really get him out of a bind. But I didn't think that it could do that. You know what I mean? When we're first introduced to his power, it's compressing people and stuff like that, right? But here he is just actually like removing chunks of his body that way. So which is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little bit weird about this scene because I think almost all of it is really good except for the reveal of his lineage. I felt like that fell a little bit flat because I felt like this scene could have worked without it and it would have been just as impactful. Like it would have been just as impactful, just as cool. You could have still shown his face off and it would have been like an interesting reveal as well. I just didn't really get anything from the fact that it's like, oh, well, he's from, the his great great grandfather was this like villain who is like also kind of a hero. Um, I think I think it could paint a really interesting light on like why he's deciding to be a part of the League of Villains. But they just never really went into it at all. And then it was kind of like at the last second they were like, "Oh, here's this additional stuff really quickly before we get rid of him," which I don't know how I felt about that.
Yeah, it does feel like it was really built up for no reason, really. You know what I mean? Like it just like it feels like very like it's gonna sound weird, but it adds very shallow depth to a character who's immediately dismissed like shortly thereafter, right? So it doesn't. Yeah, I don't think it needed it. I don't think it needed it either. Maybe if there was more building on him having those kind of like motives and morals leading up to this, it would be different. But he even says himself that like nobody really asked me why I joined, and like
Yeah.
that's just it, right? It was always just this thing in the background.
Now, the one thing is, I will, I'm always gonna simp for Horikoshi. I'm always gonna be apologetic, just gonna try to explain his actions away. Because here's my guess.
Yeah.
I actually do think that it was purposeful. Actually, the other part of me is thinking that it's at least purposeful, because the very last sign is like, "Oh, I was doing all this really for no reason. There's no magic here. It was just a distraction," and that could have been the case of like, it's literally meaningless. Like it literally is just a distraction, so the rest of the league can leave. Like obviously, it's real stuff. It's not
Mhm.
like he's out there lying, but like, yeah, it is just nothing. But like
Do you think?
he kind of calls to the fact that like yeah, this really is nothing. It was just the monologue was just a distraction basically.
And that's what I was gonna ask. It was like, was the because this episode kind of does jump around a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Where you do kind of get like two point of views from Mr. Compress's like big reveal. So I guess I could see where the monologue was really just to draw attention entirely on him
Hmm.
for that brief moment, sort of thing.
And it would make sense because like he's the magician. He's like flashy. He's like trying to create like get like draw your attention to certain places so he could do his tricks behind his back. And like this is the ultimate one of it of where the big distraction is I also have an interesting family lineage, and here is the big reveal of that. Just kidding. I was just getting my friends out of here.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like, still true, but like not really the point, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, and like I mean, and it effectively worked too, right? Like, I mean, he had the attention of Mirio, he had the attention of Best Jeanist. It really did like put all eyes on him, sort of thing. So yeah, I totally see that angle. That's super cool, and it's like it takes something that feels very, like I don't know, just poorly delivered and puts a spin on it that is quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do get within the sequence, we do get a lot of information about like kind of how the League of Villains has been operating on like a day to day. That they've basically just been like pillaging and like robbing people,
Just
and
stealing
we
some stuff.
stealing some stuff, and we get to see like another offshoot of uh bad people, I guess, within the
Yeah.
My Hero universe. Yeah, I know you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, because I was actually kind of upset about this. Because in the manga, this scene happens earlier. So, like, I
Mhm.
guess to set the context is a lot of the times that we see what's going on with the League of Villains in the past is actually told through like Spinner's point of view in like flashbacks normally, like in the manga. This they kind of stopped doing that really early on, and instead they spread the scenes out in other places. So it's interesting to see this pop up, when we did. But I'm
Yeah,
glad we do because the creature rejection clan I think is really really important, even though they're around for like half of a
point
scene.
five.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the reason why is because like it gives us this hint about like what's going on in the world, and it shows us like what the ramifications of this hero society have been, and one of them is that there's a lot of people that are very racist against the heteromorphs out there, and this is really important because this theme pops up in like My Hero a lot, but like always as like a side theme. So we talk about vigilantes all the time, right?
Yeah.
Vigilantes is great, wonderful. Please go read it. It's a My Hero offshoot that happens just before My Hero starts. Highly recommend. There's some really good characters like Aizawa in it. In fact, but in there, that's like a I wouldn't say a big plot point, but it's a minor plot point. But it keeps showing up, and like I will say this until the series is over. I think the problems with Hero Society that don't come up a bunch will eventually have to come up because I think the big theme around My Hero is that like quirks in Hero Society are actually bad, and that we need to get rid of all of them. I will die on this hill, and that's what's going to happen at the very end. But my point being is the creature rejection clan kind of showing like, hey, people are still here and really racist. Like even though like our society has upended and changed, like people are still this way, if not even more. But we did get a new bit of information about them is that they're like a religious group as well. Because in the manga, I think it literally is 2 panels, and we really get nothing besides their name and what they look like. But here they talked a little bit more, so I thought that was kind of interesting that now we kind of like get this new lens of where we could speculate, but now it's kind of confirmed that it was like this cult basically.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, and I like just kind of on that note, comparing the anime to the manga. Any manga readers who are either like past this point or beyond are noticing that they like Horikoshi very much seems to be trying to flesh out or like kind of like catch things that he kind of lets slip in the manga, and he's kind of like not backpedaling, but he's fixing his mistakes in the anime, which I think is really like sick. It's a nice little note on him to show that he isn't just like, oh, okay, I'm done now, like I can just kind of chill and like reap the benefits, right? He still very much cares about delivering like a good story.
Yeah.
So the next thing we're gonna kind of get into is we get another quirk reveal for Deku, which is kind of overshadowed by the rest of the episode. There's a ton of shit going on elsewhere, but we do get it's the fourth quirk, which is danger sense.
Yeah.
Which is essentially it's Spidey sense, like
yeah, it's Spidey sense. I was surprised because it was a very like quick reveal. I mean, I guess float was pretty quick as well, and like how fast they revealed it and whatnot. But like, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because it's like, oh damn, we are now like 3 new quirks in, very 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 quickly. So I wonder if there is like he said it's turned up to 11. Like I wonder what the passive version of that is. Like does he have like greater like awareness around him maybe? Like even if things aren't like a super big danger, or like what's like the chill what's like the 3 version, the 3 out of 10 version of this?
the 3 out of 10, yeah, where it's not actually like giving you like migraines and stuff like that every time it goes off, right?
Yeah, or like everybody like all their quirks, they always said that they were way weaker when they originally had them. Like because of the stockpiling quirk, they got stronger. So what is the really weak version of danger sense? Like do you like bad stuff's about to happen and you get like a little bit of a tummy ache or something?
Yeah, it's literally intuition.
Yeah. It's just what everyone has with rain, where their arthritis starts like starts going up. Everyone just has danger sense, but it's like 1 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly, right? So like man. Fourth had it at a 3, and now Deku's like dealing with it at like 11. I don't know. Man.
What do you think about it though?
I think it's a really cool supplemental quirk. It really again drives home how much Horikoshi loves Western comics. Because this is a 1-for-1 ripoff. You know what I mean? This really is, and that's fine. That's like, I mean, it's not so prominent in Deku's arsenal that like it's gonna be like, okay, we just created Spider-Man between this and Black Whip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we're getting there. we're getting there real fast.
Yeah. Soon we'll have it.
Yeah. I mean, shit. What does he need? Like he needs like an EMP, I guess, if he's the Miles Morales iteration. And yeah, web shooters, and then Deku's just Spider-Man.
Easy.
Easy, dude, easy. But I think it's fine. It's fine. I'm like, it's making me more and more interested to see if the remaining quirks are all going to be supplemental quirks to basically the power that he got from All Might, or we're actually going to have something else that's also kind of crazy that he can use like alongside like Black Whip, because Black Whip is still pretty sick as like a weapon too, right?
Yeah, so, maybe some like laser eyes or something.
Yeah, Cyclops, like
yeah,
it's all been done. Horikoshi has so many options, right? Like it's gonna be interesting to see. Like,
yeah, you say it's all been done, and then we get the washing machine hero. So
yeah, that's so fucking true. We get yeah. Okay, I can't say that it hasn't all been done.
Yeah,
he keeps finding angles. Speaking of other heroes, though, really briefly, I know I didn't really cover this in the outline, but we saw like a super gruesome death this episode too. Like Master Driller just getting bitten in half. Like, oh my god.
I mean, to be fair, his attack was very strong. The like from inside the head, just like drilling right out of the brains. But yeah, that all of that was like really brutal. Like
It was super.
especially for My Hero, is really brutal.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like I was sitting there, I was like, I'm a little uncomfortable now. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? This wasn't what I expected, right? So yeah, we like they're clearly trying to turn the desperate dis,
Disparity.
disparity. There we go. Yeah. They're turning that up like a lot, and I think it's really painting a bit of a bigger picture. Um, but the final point I want to get into really is, especially with everything that's going on, is the Shigaraki slash AFO whole fucking thing. This is a lot.
Yeah, it's so like, is AFO helping him, or is AFO like pulling the big trick on Shigaraki right now? Like,
I feel like
is he doing this because he's being big bad AFO, or is he trying to help Shigaraki? Like, what is his goal? What is his gain here?
that's just it. Like, I mean, because it's always been painted so well that like AFO is passing on to Shigaraki, much like All Might is to Deku, sort of thing. But then AFO pulls a fast one. He's like, you know, like, yeah, this is a sick body. I'm going to use this now, sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I really don't know. Like, I mean, there is essentially no sign of Tamura really whatsoever in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get him breaking through or anything like that. And you especially get it where he doesn't call Spinner Spinner. He calls him by his first name,
Yeah.
which is like super jarring, right? So it's I don't know, man. Like,
Here's my other question: is because of that, I think that we're only able to hear that it's All For One's voice to make it not confusing. I assume that whenever
yeah.
he's talking, it is just Shigaraki's voice.
Yeah, because Spinner wouldn't have been so thrown off.
Yeah.
If it was an entirely different voice. So yeah, it probably is really just to help the audience, which is fine.
But it's cool
like,
though. Like
it's super sick.
the layered voice is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's super interesting. It's just and it's a crazy angle, for him to go from, you know, all these characters willing to do all this crazy self-sacrifice for them, with the exception of like Dobby, to him being like, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like, we're out, sort of thing, right? This is you know, I'm out for myself, sort of thing, right? And if you guys are along for the ride, cool. If not, whatever. And it makes Shigaraki that much more scary, because now you don't have that kind of tormented soul kind of thing who's really battling with, like, you know, a lot of like traumatic events in his past. AFO is just, he's a bad dude, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he's a comic book villain.
yeah, he is. He's straight up a villain with no, like, he was just born evil. He's always wanted everything for himself. He's greedy. He's narcissistic. Everything like that. Shigaraki actually has like a bit of like trauma. Like, you know, you could actually see where, like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe Shigaraki at one point could be a hero. You know, sort of thing. So it's kind of crazy to see such a big turn, and I'm really curious how they do this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Things are getting weird, but I'd say the war arc really with this retreat is basically concluded at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely like the end of it, unless, you know, we have the shonen switcheroo where it's like, just kidding, here's where our final battle's gonna be. But yeah, it definitely feels like they're starting to leave. Like, this is, people are on the ground. Like, it's getting towards the end. I will say this episode felt like a Dragon Ball episode, though. I don't know why. It just like,
Yeah.
like, but like, it has that feel of where, like, maybe I'm saying Dragon Ball because it's more classic shonen, but it's like it's a big battle, but there's a bunch of like small battles, and they're switching between all of them. And at one point, everybody is like kind of just on the ground.
Oh, it's 100% true. I didn't
Yeah.
even do that comparison, but yeah, 100.
Like
110%.
if I replace the characters with DBZ characters and everyone's on the ground and like Gohan's looking up like, no, please don't, and then Shigaraki's just like, I don't know,
Vegeta,
or
early?
Cell, like maybe Cell
Cell,
going
yeah.
into a new form, and you're like, but they're all on the ground. How are they going to kill Perfect Cell now?
Yeah. That's it, dude. I think this is a 1-for-1 ripoff, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how this is. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. That's insane.
Yeah, all shonen is DBZ.
Also, that is the granddaddy of shonen is DBZ. Is there anything else you really want to cover in this episode? Any points you want to talk about? Anything like that?
No, let's get into the Plus Ultra.
So yeah, the Plus Ultra Award. For those who don't know, we basically reward the Plus Ultra Award to whoever has gone Plus Ultra within the episode. This could be characters, this can be production, this could be concept. We've done it all at this point. Dylan, who do you got?
It is Mr. Compress, of course, the great,
Course.
great grandchild of the Peerless Thief. Mr. Compress. We love him.
It has to be.
He's awesome. I don't know. I actually did think it was very cool, and I think it's a really good way to send that character off of like. I think this happens a lot, like towards the end of, like, I don't know. You could like it's the end of the series. It's getting towards the end of the series. We're marching in that direction. I guess they won't say this, but like the meta of it is this is going to be the start of the final saga. I guess. Horikoshi has said that there's 3 sagas within My Hero, and we just finished the second one, and we're moving on to the third now. And there's usually a lot of consolidation of characters at these points. Like characters start dying or they go off somewhere. And I think this was a good way to send off of an okay character. A character that it wasn't a fan favorite, but was pretty solid all the way through, and in like a pretty like good, dignified way. And I'm super happy about it. I'm actually happy on how they dealt with every single League of Villain character so far. Magni had a really interesting and cool death. Twice did. Mr. Compress did. Not only that, but Mr. Compress was used for like a little bit of emotional tugging twice now. The first one being his arm. And I think it's good. It made sense for the character. He's really cool. He's handsome. Wish we got to see his face more, but
He is incredibly handsome, absolutely, and I have to agree with you too. He really is, like, he really did steal the show this episode, and for that, absolutely he gets it. This will probably be, I think this is the first and only time Mr. Compress has ever gotten the Plus Ultra, but it is quite well deserved for sure.
we love him.
Love him to death. So that is it for this episode. By all means, check us out on our YouTube at Class 1A, and we are also on all podcast platforms at the Class 1A Podcast, and also on Twitter at Class 1A Pod. Check us out, give us a follow, all that good stuff. We will see you all next class.